Hello, 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 and welcome to Bitches with Beards. And on today's episode, I asked the question, just what is the appropriate amount of food that you can take home at the end of an evening?
Well, Max, sometimes the Joker is me.
We're the podcast that attempts to break down culture with all the elegance of two coastal grandmas.
But in truth, we're just a couple of bitches with beards.
I'm Max.
And I'm Daniel.
And we're live from the Diane Keating podcast studio in Haberdashery.
And we both have opinions, so let's get this party started.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I have so much culture I just want to talk to you about straight away.
Okay.
So first of all, if the sound's a bit off or weird today, we have all the windows open. We are not fucking apologising. It's been up and down weather.
But it's gorgeous right now.
It's gorgeous right now. So we've closed the door, but we have the window. But it's... Jokingly, my hubs loves a very cold house, which means he's never grown up in a British cold house because otherwise you would never want a cold house. But so he loves his aircon on, and he's been very nice. I think we've got until about my birthday.
Yeah. I was just saying, you got 3 weeks at the most.
But he's just headed out for a happy hour. We're going to meet him, but he's taken the dog with him. It's the perfect time. The dog has been dying to get out of the house as well.
Yes.
So we're very excited. So much quickly. We're going to start off with my question, Daniel. Scenario was so we had a lovely Saturday evening with the suburbanites. They did a grill. They do a real great grill. I took over some food. I took over some cookies, and they did a cheese thing. You know what's it, the cheese
charcuterie?
No, a cheese draft. So they bought in, they bring out two cheeses, we each try one, we pick one.
A cheese draft. Okay.
I won because I came both mine in the final. It was
so they did a final four of cheese.
Final four, and it got to the final two, but we'll explain that.
Yeah.
But we had all my stuff in Tupperware. Went to their fridge and said, do you mind if I grab my Tupperware? It still had a lot of stuff in it. Now, already, I'd made a giant couscous salad. I already halved it and put some of it in the fridge. There was that much of it. But there was still... But when you grab your Tupperware, I'm like, does anybody want this? They're like, But my cheeses were on top. Now, I was happy to grab and take home the food that was in the Tupperwares because if no one wanted it, it's there and I need my Tupperware back.
Right.
But I thought, no, I can't grab... The cheese was delicious. Obviously, it was award-winning cheese.
Right.
We should explain what one it was in my food section. Was I stupid to leave it? Or because it wasn't opened and it wasn't in a Tupperware, it had been saran wrapped?
So you're saying you left unopened cheese?
It was opened. It had been opened but resealed.
Opened but resealed. Cheese is sort of hard to travel. I'd go back and forth with that one. I feel like, did you bring a hostess gift?
No, but...
So you could have left the cheese as a gift.
Now, because these are people we regularly see, we don't tend to do that.
Right. I don't know.
It was a weird grey zone.
Yeah, it's a weird grey zone. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, what would Emily Post do? And I'm sitting here and I'm like, she might just leave the cheese. Yeah. I felt I was right too, but it was very tempting when I explained what the cheese was. Yeah, I would say if it was an unopened cheese, like you brought two of the same one and one of them was unopened, I would have said, you grab that and you take that one home, sir.
Now, they have held a party and someone left early and realised their dessert had not been eaten and they took their dessert halfway through the party.
Okay, that's different.
That was good because it created... much conversation for the second half of the party.
So that's entertainment and a lack of dessert right there. So I think, if everyone has had their fill and the party is winding down, that would have been one thing if no one had touched the dessert, at which point you can take it. But if, no, you just leave the glass dish there and hope that they clean it up and give it back to you the next time they see you. Yeah, that's a no. That's a no. That one's less of a gray zone for me.
Yeah.
It's more of a shame on you for being a bad guest in that situation.
Yeah. It's very hard, isn't it? It's hard being a coastal grandma's.
It is so hard being a coastal grandma. So hard. the life and the lines we have to toe.
But we engaged, though, in these
Yeah.
hard conversations, which, again, people wanted to engage in. So my second bit of culture is under Messy Bitches. I just
Okay.
want to quickly thank Dustin and Jesse for reaching out. My God, the opinions on sherbet.
Oh, God.
Apparently, shame on you for not mentioning some of the rainbow flavours that have been introduced, or the multi-flavoured ones, the
Because
Neapolitan level flavours.
Because I don't think those are real.
You don't think they're we are starting with controversial statements, Daniel.
Because in my opinion, it is either lime or orange, and that's it. I don't put any of the rainbow ones. Like, don't get me wrong. I've seen the rainbow ones. I don't like the rainbow ones. Like, I want it to be lime or I want it to be orange.
Yeah. Now, I do think maybe next week, because next week we'll have to record the first thing, chat. Is we have to, at some point, we're going to have to get me to try, it's all about me, isn't it?
Yeah,
Get me
it's
to
all
try
about you.
sherbet
Yeah.
on, because I've never had it.
We'll call you Emily and it's your Americanization.
Baby, I'm excited for it. Because of that, though, because we had so many conversations about it, and ever so often, Daniel and I, even though you may be surprised that, I don't know, what the fuck, is that your date for the night arriving?
I wish. That sounds like a dump truck.
I mean, it was a dump truck. Now it's your date at the end of the night.
Yeah.
God. So, Daniel and I always meet in the middle on culture. We always, we just have such a love of share. We share a love of, mutual love of all the same cultures. But even still, sometimes I'm so surprised when we have like a shared memory and reaction. So, earlier tonight, some music came on, and Daniel was like, "This is." So we had it on the Alexa, and Daniel was like, "This is so 2007."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh my God!" And I went MGMT. I was in the last couple of years of of college. I explained to Jet,
And I was starting.
I
Yeah.
also explained to Daniel that but I was doing so I live in London, but I live on the outskirts. I was working in London. I had my first London job. I spent a whole year just on the. I repeat what I said, but I fell in love with London. But then we started talking about music, and Sam Sparrow got brought up, and Black and Gold. And we had that playing, and there was maybe some Popper flashbacks from both of us.
Yeah, some memories. Memories, some nose burns.
But and I think this is not something I want to discuss tonight, maybe, but all of a sudden we both said that era of music, and and I just went MySpace, and you were like, yes, shit, MySpace,
Because it was a way that you were introduced, because there were the tracks that you could put on, and that was the way that artists were also introducing their music, was like, listen to this, and it was sort of their singles.
Yeah, it was new tracks, and
Yeah.
Sam Sparrow was, and I remember Attitude Magazine,
Yes.
and he was very much featured on it. So if anyone is like listening and does want to mention, I would love to know, and I think Daniel would as well, does everyone have and it's a very specific time, I'm going to be really honest, it's sort of 2005 to 2010,
Yeah.
and it was
I would bump it out a little bit to 2012 for us stateside.
But it was, I called it Skins era as well, and Skins was big.
Skins was on, yeah.
Because that was the first, because that was interactive in England.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, and it's got to be the British version, not the American one.
Tried its best. I did like what they did with some characters.
Yeah, but the British version was so much better.
But, so just anyone in terms of have a really fond memory of music, and if so,
what were the songs?
Songs and why? And
how do they make you feel?
Yeah.
Like, there was a certain feeling that was with them.
I just am so happy listening. I know,
Yeah.
but so that was a side thing. But I think that's such a unique period of time for music, because it's a bit like as well with the arrival of, we called it Love Film, but it was over here known as Netflix. Meant that all of a sudden, DVD rental was huge, and then we found ourselves. I was renting a lot of foreign movies.
Oh,
So
yeah.
and the movie boom and and everything was, it was such a creative period of time.
Yeah.
And it was a boom of the indie producers. So
I was about to say, there was a lot of indie queer films that was on Netflix that I was exposed to for the first time. There was a lot of, for some reason, they had a limited amount of American television shows, but they had so many British television shows. Like I was talking a few weeks ago, Coupling, saw it on Netflix at the time. Like,
So Let us know, because I think
Yeah.
this is an episode.
Oh, yeah,
and I
it's an
think
episode, but not tonight.
maybe this might be a third mic episode, because I think it's
Oh,
such
yeah.
a wonderful period of
Yeah,
time.
I think so.
But no,
Yeah.
if anyone just wants to, if they have a good, or there's an artist they love. Do you remember Dragonette?
The name sounds familiar. It's one of those I'd have to hear the
Yeah,
song.
I'll play it on after this.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Sister Sisters boomed
Yes.
in
Oh,
that
yes,
period
absolutely.
of time as well.
Lara.
That was such a good album.
One
That album
of
is
the
still
best.
so good. I think
It's solid.
Tadar is better. The
Tada-
second one.
Tada might be better, but the first one was solid.
If you haven't heard the Sister Sisters albums, they have the same creative structure in or quality as Gaga's. So they're both excellent, but the second one has a richness that comes
Yeah.
from experience.
Yes.
But the first one has, I mean,
The first one had the hook, though.
hook
That got you in.
Ian. And it's the same with when you listen to Gaga and you know, Just Dance, and then you watch that video, and it was basically someone with a flashlight in a house party.
Yeah.
And you would, and she had like a featured artist,
Yeah.
which she never.
Yeah. The way
Now
that she
it-
pointed out. Like,
Oh my god, I'm just so happy about that.
yeah.
Oh,
But
anyway.
again, it elicits happiness, that era of music. So happy.
So actually, what would make you happy is hearing about your week.
About my week. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the culture section. My aunt was in DC, which was a bit of a shock and awe. We'll talk about that later, listeners. I actually had a really good set of like Lady Bird days. We'll call it
Yes.
that. Did a lot of documentation work. I had a moment of woo this week. I can be a little bit woo. I don't, happens with work because of what I work with historic buildings and landscapes and stuff. But I was, documenting Rock Creek Parkway, had finished up, and I had gone to like DuPont Circle, and I was sitting there on Saturday morning, and something told me, go to LBJ Grove. And I was just like, I've been there, I think, a grand total of like twice since I've lived in DC. And I was like, okay. And like cars and Ubers over there were like $50. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, absolutely not. So I just, sat around for like 10 minutes in DuPont Circle, checked a car again. It's like $10. I'm like, okay, I'll go. Don't know why. Arrived there, got to the Grove, and something was just telling me, go to like the memorial. And I did. And I just had this moment of like peace wash over me, which
That's
I
nice.
haven't experienced in like months at this point for obvious reasons. And it's one of these, I'm not saying listeners, everyone should go to the Grove. I think I was supposed to be there in that moment.
Yeah.
And like, if I went there again tomorrow, that wouldn't happen. Like, it was just a right there in that moment thing.
It's lovely.
It was so nice. So I'm going to say this, listeners, if you have the universe tell you to do something, maybe listen to it. It might be a special little gift. And I don't often get like this, but it was just like, it was nice to feel peace for
Yeah.
a little bit, It went away by, it went away by Tuesday, but it was one of those I was just like, okay, it helped get me through the day. So,
Very
or the
nice.
weekend. So find your peace. If the universe talks to you, listen to the universe is what I'm going to tell you to do. But yeah, it was very nice. Very nice. How about you? What was your week like?
Well, I've already spoken to you about it today.
Then speak about what you would like to speak
Week,
about.
but I have officially found out my job is done, kaput, capiche. So we're sorting through that, and it was a bit of a mixed feeling week. We knew it was coming, but there's still a
Right.
little bit of ups and downs.
I mean, you knew the Band-Aid was going to come off, and it ripped off.
Yeah, I wasn't best happy with myself this week. I'm trying to, pull in my job hunt, and I have done that to an extent. I've kept it to a couple of hours a day. I'm steadily making more room for personal projects, working on my show reel, which is taking fucking forever. But no, definitely breaking the habit of. So I was explaining to Daniel that I've been trying to edit my book, and also I've started a second because it's become a
Hold on.
hold all for ideas that definitely aren't fitting. Like, oh, there's another idea there.
Yeah.
But also kind of going, you can just stop the job hunt and write for an hour max. No one is holding you to that.
No one says you have to do the job hunt today. Not saying that you shouldn't, but
You've literally done 200. I've done 200 applications.
Right.
I'm like, Okay, and we're all good. Things are brewing where they're meant to be brewing, but at the same time, can they brew faster? It's just a very slow job market. And now essentially we're just waiting to see how much I get paid out from the organisation. But so apart from that, like I'm just going to continue moving forward. I think I do need my woo.
Yeah.
I think possibly like this weekend I'm doing my the Delaware Marathon, so I'm definitely going to feel a bit of woo during that. And I think that it's going to help. But next week, aside from there's going to be a shit ton of stuff to do regarding closeout. I'm ready to really breathe and take a moment to take April and like now I'm ready to sort of say fuck it. I want to put my own mark on the creative world.
So not to make this about me again.
Oh please, I make everything about myself.
No. So I'm thinking about this, a little bit of a reflection. I did set out, Saturday morning with the intention to find this one thing about Lady Bird that I didn't know if it existed or not.
Yeah.
I physically found it. But I set out with the intention and then had the woo moment later. You're doing your marathon this weekend, if you don't mind me saying this.
Yeah.
Like, maybe setting out with the intention of doing the marathon and doing well could give you that moment of woo, that high.
I think so. I do think, I said next week there's a lot, it'll be busy at the start and got some projects that I'm trying to make projects, but I am definitely like, I'm not going to, and I was saying to I spoke to my my old supervisor and he's like, how are you doing? And I said to him, it's taken 6 weeks to get myself locked into this new reality. And now I'm in a point of, I'm ready to, I'm now easing myself in. But I'd like woke up, a couple of days this week and Susan and Barbara got an edit, and then this other little project that I said I've enjoyed writing. It's a very different style. It's ideas that I've wanted to work on for a while. I think I've got an interesting one, and going, okay, I've got an idea, and then just go, I'm going to spend an hour writing.
Yeah, see where it goes.
I'm fucking on unemployment. I'm not going to sit there and kind of go, I've done enough. So there's that, but again, it's still a work in progress.
You can truthfully answer, did you seek employment this week? Yes.
Yes. No, I think generally there's so much, and I spoke to my therapist about it as well, and she's like, she jokes, and the Hubs jokes. He's like, you can be a little bit less together if you need to be.
Yes, you are allowed to, not fall apart, but you're allowed to let your hair down, so to speak.
But I do definitely feel there's stuff that's occurred that I'll be more wanting to say once I've got my money in the bank, just about how I want to move forward. And it may be like interpreted negatively, but there's stuff that I want to do and take with me. And I definitely feel April's about realizing them.
Yeah.
Spring is kind of here. We mentioned earlier that windows are open, but I've got a little herb garden actually kind of not slowly, actually kind of shooting up a little bit, which we're excited about.
Yeah, one of them is, yeah.
And then, that's kind of really been it this week.
Yeah, and that is enough.
Yeah, so we've got the herb garden, but what's my part in herb garden? That's Ina's garden.
Ina's garden, yes. So tonight we are trying Ginson 0% dealcoholized New Zealand Rosé. And I'm going to say this, Max. I'm happy with this.
Yeah, so let's have a try. I think I took one with me on the Saturday, but I don't think it was this one.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't this one. This one's got a slightly more alcoholic taste to it.
Yep. So this one is 6% grape juice and then 94% dealcoholized wine. It tastes like a rosé. Like I don't miss anything from a rosé.
Oh, it's got a bit of a. Oh, give me goosebumps. No, that's a nice one, that one.
Like it was one of these, I took a sip and then I checked the bottle immediately and I was like, does this have alcohol? No, it does not. It does not have alcohol. So I would say, listeners, if you're looking for a rosé, we found it. We have found it.
No, that is delicious. Okay, well, let's see what happens in the week in gay news.
This is the portion of the podcast where we talk about things that are gay adjacent, or just a little bit camp. And my God, this is my least favorite week of the year for news. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, well, we'll start off with, we haven't really mentioned it, I noticed in both our notes, But Val Kilmer sadly died this week.
Yeah.
We kind of mentioned that because for gay people, he did introduce himself in Rubber and Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And let's not forget Iceman.
Yes, and there was a lot of gay awakenings in our group chat, apparently.
Yes, but very sad. He had a bit of an interesting reputation.
Yes.
But I loved him in Willow years back. But he had survived throat cancer, which had basically ended his career.
Oh yeah.
And he sadly died of pneumonia. But really going to bring him up because he dated Cher for a while. So.
Yeah.
But she's said some very lovely things, and Tom Cruise has.
She has.
So very sad. Very sad. My first major bit of news, aside from that, is that the White House Correspondents' Dinner cancels comedian Amber Ruffin's appearance. In a statement emailed to its members on Saturday, the WHCA President Eugene Daniels said his organisation's board unanimously decided to do without a comedian at this year's April 26th dinner in Washington, D.C. That's my birthday. Why are you actually... coming to the dinner? You should be at my birthday.
I was about to say, where-
Amber Ruffin, you can come to my birthday.
Right? We'd love to have you.
This consequential moment for journalism, I want to ensure the focus is not on the politics of division, but entirely on awarding our colleagues for their outstanding work and providing scholarship and mentorship to the next generation of journalists. So whether or not it is going to be more of a focus on that, I hope that's a genuine reason and not just running scared, but hey, we shall see. Sony's new Spider-Man movie, or Sony's new Spider-Man movie, has been named A Brand New Day with a wonderful new logo. We shall see. The Spider-Mans are actually some of my favourites of the Marvel. They've done really well. I think they've had to keep them slightly standalone because of the nature of them, and I think it's just worked really well. Part 3 was excellent, so hopefully part 4 will keep the magic going.
We'll see.
So, talking of movies, the Beatles movie, all 4 of them apparently are coming out in April 2028.
I was about to say, how many Beatles movies? 4.
So, directed by Sam Mendes, he said he showed up towards the end of Sony's Cinecon presentation to reveal details of how his 4 Beatles movies will go down. All 4 will come out in April 28 in what is the first bingeable moment in cinema, said Mendes. So, I mean, I'm up for it.
I was about to say, you're always up for it.
But I'm generally interested. If he's going to try something new, I love Sam Mendes. I think he's a fantastic director. I am genuinely curious to see what this means. I'm hoping they're not all going to be 3 hours long.
Well, I guess my question is, do we think it's one for each member, or is it for like the eras of the Beatles and each one is an era?
Yeah, and maybe each one takes focus.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, they're not going to... Yeah, we shall kind of see. But if they're going to do a day of it, I will do a day of seeing the Beatles movies. Especially because the cast has confirmed Joseph Quinn will be playing George Harrison, Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr, and Harris Dickinson as John Lennon. It's an excellent cast. It's the hottest thing new Rat Pack, basically, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So excited. In kind of surprising news, and I mentioned earlier about my writing, National Novel Writing Month is just shut down. They've basically they're claiming,
and I was thinking about doing it this year.
You can still do it. They said, obviously, it started as an idea, it then became an organisation, and then sadly is kind of, they are unable to sustain with funding, non-profit. It's been plagued by financial troubles. However, it did in 2024 manage to piss off a large swath of the literary community by suggesting that condemnation of AI tools in writing circles was a classist and ableist undertones, and that questions around the use of AI tied to questions about privilege. And it basically, a lot of people kind of walked away from it because it did draw in a lot of like support for what it tried to do for literature.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. In concept, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get you motivated if you have a month to reach a goal.
But the AI of it all is what they're saying. It's okay. You can't say no to AI because people need it. And I do, I found use for AI. I write all my material for my job hunt, but I will put. I'm going to say now. I'll put it through ChatGPT. It cleans it up because I cannot get it across the finish line. So I write it. I get all my stuff down, and it adjust the wording slightly.
So I like to use it for like just a little bit of proof editing,
Yeah.
like here and there. Just, I'll catch a comma or whatnot, or be like, change this word. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
But it's interesting me doing that, and then I have then gone to writing, and then I've almost near habit gone, oh, no, we're not putting that into the chat GBT.
Right.
That's your writing. You've got to find your...
You've got to have your voice.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a pity it's closing down. I'm really hoping someone is able to like keep the website going, or because it has got like a goals setting and stuff.
Yeah.
But I see it just as a larger body. It's sadly ending.
Yeah.
Final bit of news is lovely. Liza Minnelli to make RuPaul's Drag Race debut on season 17 grand finale. The EGOT-winning legend and Alexis Michelle's iconic Snatch Game celebrity will appear on the season 17 finale, with Ru presenting with a special award. Have you seen these in the past?
Yes.
Yes. So host RuPaul will present Minnelli with another honour to add to her mantle, as a cabaret performer will receive Drag's third annual Giving Us Lifetime Achievement Awards, following season 15's inaugural recipient Bob Mackey and the season 16 honoree Elvira, aka Cassandra Peterson.
Yes.
And she's actually, so I don't know how much she's going to be in the show, but she has been on set. Looks very small in a giant throne chair, which probably was not the best thing, but made sense. But when you're going through health problems, probably not the best.
Yeah, it does look a little bit sickly.
Feeling sickly, but she, it's really lovely that, and I feel that this is, her life and her hard work as an ally has led to Drag Race. So I think it's a really lovely moment.
She's Liza.
Liza, what's your news, Daniel?
Well, my news, first I want to start off with a little bit of a rant that could have gone for Petticoat Lane, but it's not. And that I hinted that this was my least favorite week because April 1st was this week. And let me just tell you, there were fake headlines up until April 3rd. So do you know how hard it was doing notes? Because I kept like finding stories and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And it's like, no, Lady Gaga is not making her Broadway debut. No, that's not going to happen. No, Betsy Johnson isn't reopening stores. Like, stuff I was genuinely excited about. And then it turns out, no, April Fools. And I was like, son of a fucking bitch. Like,
what did they say that she was going to be in, Gaga?
Via Galactica, a brand new musical, and I was like, oh, that sounds right up her alley.
Yeah, they got, it's got to be believable, isn't it?
Like, it was completely believable because they're like, she's striving for her EGOT, and I was like, sure she is. And I was just like, and then you get down to the last line, April Fools, and I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, I was genuinely like, I'm getting ready to book tickets to this show. Like, it was so well written, and I was like, how can you pull the rug out from underneath me like this? Like,
I know.
Like, I was... Anyways, listeners, all I'm saying
there
is...
was a couple of checks. And the trouble is now as well is that I think it was like the Daily Mail years back when it was still like a newspaper, used to have a fake article on April Fool's Day, and it was a puff piece. It was never like Netanyahu releases everyone sort of thing,
Yeah.
And then the idea was that you would try and guess. The next day they would kind of reveal what one it was.
Ostrich doesn't have a two-headed cow.
Yeah, but now the trouble is as well as like, and so I didn't look through my notes or trying to do notes on April Fool's Day because I was like, there's no point.
Yeah.
But the algorithms now keep the jokes going.
For, like I said, until like April 3rd. And so like I'm waiting to like find an article that I'm like, oh, this is legit and honest. Like, there we go. Yeah, very frustrating. Anyways, enough of that rant. Sorry for that Petticoat Lane that came a little bit early. So some less than great news coming out of Greece is that the Grecian Minister of Justice announced a plan to ban gay couples and single men from having kids via surrogacy. While it was a step forward whenever the Greek Orthodox state decided that they were going to allow gay marriage, not everyone was on board, and so the Greek Orthodox Church has pushed back, stating, well, we'll give them the marriage, but not the surrogacy. And they're citing the inability to carry a pregnancy as the reasons why they are against having surrogacy from happening. I'm like, really? Yeah. So, some news that was not an April Fool's. Rumors are swirling that Kit Connor is set to play 007. So, with the rights of the series going from the Broccoli's to Amazon, sources have alleged that there will be a reset that will focus on a younger Bond in the 1960s. This is after the fact that, spoiler alert, Daniel Craig's Bond did die, so they have decided to go back in time, so to speak, looking at the roots and origins of Bond. There is no word yet exactly how this is going to play out, but this is at least one narrative that is swirling around the new Bond series.
Yeah. Thing is, this week they're going to have to end Heartstopper because not so much because of the timing, but because you can't have him as a high school stroke uni student. So then they're going to have to
that series will, which I thought Heartstopper was going to end after this season.
The season 4 coming up.
Yeah,
could be. Yeah.
Anyways, who's to say? Some good news from one of our Australian daddies. Murray Bartlett has been cast opposite Pam Anderson in a film entitled Place to Be, where the pair will play siblings who are attempting to house their mother, played by Ellen Burstyn, in a care home. We'll see if antics ensue, whether or not this is going to be a serious film.
She's got a couple of films, hasn't she, Pammy? She's doing the people are being a little bit eyes opened up about her.
Yeah, I think the Last Showgirl has helped with that.
Yeah.
Congratulations to one Jason and Kylie Kelsey as they welcome their 4th daughter, Finley. She joins sisters Wyatt, Elliot, and Bennett. And the newborn has already starred on 3 podcasts. So what have you done this week? I'm asking you. Have you been on 3 podcasts?
No, not yet.
I think not. And in final news for our New York listeners, the Frick Gallery has reopened this past week to a star-studded affair gala. This was to celebrate a multi-million-dollar renovation of the New York City Gallery, which is famous for its Turners, Vermeers, and Rembrandts. So go give them a look whenever they officially open on April 17th.
Very nice.
Yes.
And with that, Daniel, should we take a quick break?
We should.
And we're back, and the house hasn't burnt down yet, so we're pretty sure the ninja foodie is not going to kill us all.
Let's hope not.
So we've got to grab some more wine because we're bad gays.
Well, can we call it wine? I don't know.
I think it is. Well, it tastes like wine. It deserves to be called wine.
It's splishy splashy.
So aside from this non-alcoholic wine, Daniel, what has been gay culture for you?
Gay culture for me this week. So, sorry, listeners, if I go a little bit long on this one. So, food of the week. My aunt was in town. We went to the Hamilton. I had a Faroe Island grilled salmon, which was on a bed of cucumbers and mint and Thai peppers and peanut sauce. So good. So good. Drinks of the week. I had 2 non-alcoholic drinks that I want to rave about. One was a Bali Breeze, which you can get over in Whole Foods in a can.
Yeah.
It is coconut and lychee. Perfection. I was also at a happy hour in Old Town Alexandria, and there was a drink that I had called a Ladybird. I had to have it. I'm a one-track pony. But it was pineapple juice, and then lime soda, and then fresh lime. Perfection. I could drink that all night long. I only had 2, don't worry. But, it wasn't one of these that I was like, oh, let's spike it. It was just enough, taste on the tongue. That's this works. Songs of the week. Let's see. We have Stormy Weather by Billie Holiday. Listening to it on one of the days that it rained this week. I don't remember which one. It just literally came onto my smart device. I was like, oh, this is appropriate. Very nice. I think I'm officially becoming a Teddy Swims fan.
Yes, he does get to you, doesn't he, eventually?
Yeah. So his song Bad Dream, I heard it this week. Actually liked it a lot. It's on the top 50 right now. So you might want to give it a listen. My 3rd song of the week, I heard the UK's entry for Eurovision.
I've still not heard it.
It's called What the Hell Just Happened. It is by the group Remember Monday. It is a girl trio that is singing. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think you're going to win on the song.
No,
but you're going to have a lot of fun on the song. The music video is sort of quirky, but like I said, you're not going to win on it.
Yeah, the reaction was a little bit, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be no plot, but I mean, you're not taking home the trophy.
Yeah.
Musical of the week. I think you had actually recommended this one to me a few months back. Blood Brothers.
Oh, I love Blood Brothers.
It was very good.
It's not true. What version?
I don't remember which version it was. I need to figure that one out. Didn't realize there were versions. I think
there's definitely Lawrence's the 10-year, but then there's the Barbara Dixon was the original.
I think it was the Barbara Dixon one was the one that I listened to.
Yeah, she was the original Mrs. Johnson.
Should I listen to the Barbara Dixon one or should I listen to the
Both
Stephanie
are
Lawrence?
excellent.
Okay.
Stephanie Lawrence is a mate. Stephanie Lawrence sadly died. She was in Starlight Express, but she died.
Yeah.
She had cancer.
Wow. All right, and finally, we're going to wrap it up with some self-care recommendations for individuals. So, one, I'm going to recommend people do some spring cleaning because we are in spring, but make it practical, make it approachable. So, set a timer to do a task and only do that task. I have this horrible habit of I'm going to clean my closet. And 4 hours later, I have started cleaning the closet, I have started cleaning the bathroom, and I have started cleaning the kitchen, and nothing is done, by midnight. Focus for 30 minutes, I'm going to go through my sweaters. For 20 minutes, I'm going to go through pants that don't fit.
Yeah.
For 10 minutes, I'm going to go through shirts that don't fit. Do some deep cleaning, spring cleaning, make it approachable. You'll feel a lot better because it gets you some order in your life.
Yeah.
Do that.
Definitely.
So my other thing that I'm going to recommend, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn.
Toot toot.
Toot toot. But over the past 6 days, I have done 3 5.5-mile walks of some sort doing some documentation work. I know you run and 5.5 is nothing.
No.
But, it's enough that you actually feel it the next day. You feel like you've accomplished something. I'm saying go for a long walk in nature. Go beyond touching grass, but actually be in nature, experience it, feel it, enjoy the outdoors. Spring is here. Celebrate it, enjoy it. Go where your feet lead you, wherever that may be. Wherever you feel comfortable, but do something, a little bit strenuous. Yeah. If you're used to the 5 miles, do 6. Up it just a little bit. And then finally, I'm highly going to recommend people do a face mask. I got one over at Whole Foods. It was called Stress. Imagine that. My skin just feels really good. So I'm saying pamper yourself a little bit too after you do that 5-mile walk. You've got to put something back in, physically put something back into you. So anyways, listeners, take with that what you will, but go enjoy yourself. And what was culture for you this week, my dear?
Well, culture for me, got all connected there. So, first we'll start off with a restaurant. I did get the name of it up, but some friends of mine recently opened, as it goes through, you have everything set up, don't you, on these damn things, and then you are there. Onji in DuPont Circle. It's a Korean restaurant. It's absolutely delicious. We had some taster bits from it, but definitely go check that out. It's along past the CVS if you're curious, but no, very, very, apparently very traditional, definitely give that one a go. And I also want to mention Sparks Social, where Daniel and I came from tonight. That's a non-alcoholic day coffee bar, evening bar, so only serving non-alcoholic, dealcoholized beverages.
And it's a queer space.
Queer space, very queer space. It's not like a gay space. It's very
queer.
It's
very welcoming of all, however you identify.
But no, we liked it. We wanted to try it out. My hubs has been going for a little bit and going in the day, do some work there. But for us, especially, it's kind of hard to go and get a happy hour. Not to get non-alcoholic is fine, but it was a nice space to go and just have a debrief sort of thing. The bars can get a little bit heavy, so we were like, okay, this is nice, and there was enough energy there. Yeah,
and we could have an actual conversation,
which was very nice. Aside from that, food this week, I did a couscous salad for our party on Saturday. That's going to be my summer dish. I was saying that the rotation of things to use, but it comes out well.
Did you add any cucumbers and onions and tomatoes?
Cucumbers and tomatoes. Cucumbers and onions and olives in feta. I don't like putting tomato and stuff. It makes it go soggy. I would sooner just cut them and you can mix them in yourself. Did some lovely peanut butter cookies. They came out real nice and fluffy. After I buzzed Daniel, I was like, it's so dry. It's so dry.
You were very worried about it, and I was like, I don't know what to tell you if you followed the recipe.
It needed another egg. There was no way that was a one egg recipe. It was just crumbling.
Yeah.
And it was like you're trying to really hold it together, and I'm like, this is not
bind.
And then I wanted to do Jamie Oliver has a pretty complex vegetable bake that involves phyllo pastry and loads of layers, and it's like you bake it, then you crunch it up, and then you it's like, oh my god. So I was like, I want to try this, but I was like, it's way too late to start, and also the phyllo pastry needs to defrost. So I just did a hybrid of that. I used some of the flavors from that one, and then a simpler recipe, and that was great.
Good.
Film went to see Death of a Unicorn. It's cute. It's a good film. Thingy who's in it. Oh, what's his face?
Paul Rudd.
Not Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd was a bit miscast in my opinion. Okay. You're meant to sort of see him as slightly more ruthless, and I felt he's too likable.
Wow.
The guy who was in Narnia years back.
Will Poulter.
Will Poulter, he's so hot in it. He just runs back in shorts the whole time. I'm like, yes, please. But it's good. And Jenna Ortega's excellent. It's all really well done. It just doesn't quite get above the exceptional, but everyone's having a good time and it knows what it's doing. Yeah. Television, White Lotus. Obviously, we're waiting for the finale to come out, but we're talking about episode 7. Carrie Coon's face is it for the week.
I was about to say that's sort of been meme worthy right now.
Yeah, that's been kind of the main one that's been going on. Television, we'll be watching the last couple of episodes of Doctor Who in preparation for next week's new season because Hub's missed it. But also, we've been loving Mid-Century Modern, which is the new LGBT multicam sitcom from the makers of Will and Grace. We're about halfway through. There's only 10 episodes and the Hubs is really addicted. I'm like, no, we need to pace ourselves.
Slow down.
But they're all having a good time. The script is, it's like old school Will and Grace one-liners. I felt that when Will and Grace came back, which we still have not seen the final couple of episodes of that, it was good, but it got a bit nervous. Yeah. And I feel this one is a little bit braver than that part of Will and Grace. So I'm... Oh, people outside already. But no, we're loving it, and fingers crossed for a season 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's really culture for me this week.
Yes.
So that would maybe be culture for us, but what has been making an impact for everyone else?
This is the portion of the podcast where we check the moods, test the feeds, and we ask the question, what is gay culture?
Well, take it away, Daniel.
So the question, there's a little bit of a story that happened this week. So amidst my moment of woo and sheer bliss, we'll put it that way, I go back home and I get a message from my aunt who lives in South Alabama. And this is on a Saturday. She says, guess what? I'm coming up to D.C. on Sunday to see the cherry blossoms. And I'm like, you're what? I'm coming up on Sunday, seeing the cherry blossoms. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, because we were having a Black Swan event with like everything that was going on. And I'm like texting her. I'm like, you really don't need to come. Like, I don't understand why you're coming. Like, there are going to be so many people there. She's like, no. We're going to take the train up, because she was bringing my youngest cousin in tow, and I was like, oh my God, you're taking the train up. I then text her on Sunday morning. I was like, so how's the train? And she's like, we're sitting at the station. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you're sitting in Atlanta. No. This is what had happened. The backstory is that she took her time packing and never once checked a timetable for a train, and arrived at the train station in Atlanta to find out that there was no train that was going until Sunday at 11:30 p.m. at night. So she immediately went to the airport, booked tickets, and flew up to BWI. They were sitting at the train station at BWI. They go into BWI. They then drop their luggage off, and they go experience the cherry blossoms on Sunday. And I'm like, oh my God. They had a great time.
Did you see you met with them?
So I did not see them on Sunday. Like, they were literally like, you should come down here. And I'm like, there's close to 500,000 people down there. I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am a Washingtonian and I have my limits. And my limit was I was not going anywhere near that because there was a kite festival protest. There was a baseball game. There was a soccer game. There was a hockey game. There was the Cherry Blossom Festival itself in 2 different locations. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I have my limits. So anyways, they played Tourist on Sunday. I then saw them Monday afternoon after they had gone to the Natural History Museum and they went to the Freer Gallery. We had a lovely dinner. They were here Tuesday. They ended up doing a bus tour and they ended up doing the Hirshhorn and they did something else. I don't remember. And then they flew back on Wednesday morning. The point of all of this that they did it was my cousin's spring break, and my aunt decided that she was going to be spontaneous. And this was the thing that came into her mind was, I'm going to go to see cherry blossoms. Now, mind you, I have lived in D.C. for almost a decade now. Yeah. We're 1 year shy from that. She has never come up here during cherry blossoms, and I was like, why was this the year that you decided to come up? So the question is, can we be spontaneous? Or are there limits? Or should we just call it moot at this point?
I'm not a spontaneous sort of... You have to have a level of gumption, don't you, of spontaneous?
You have to have a level of gumption or stupidity, in my opinion. Like, I don't know which. Bravery. Just this idea that you can't fail, but, you know... I'm very perplexed because my first question, whenever we were having dinner, I was like... So did you take the train up or did you fly up here? And she's like, oh no, we got to the train station and I realized that they didn't at any point. And I was like, so you packed and in the 4-hour drive to Atlanta, you never once checked to see if the train was coming. And she's like, no. And I'm like, what? What? How is this life that people don't look at timetables?
So she takes her first drive to Atlanta.
Yeah. Never once checks to see if there's a train, but goes to the airport after she realized the mistake. And I'm like, oh my God. Buys a plane ticket right then on the spot. And I'm like, oh my God.
But she had a good time overall.
Oh, overall, she had a great time. She sent her nephew into a panic whenever it was, the day before. I'm coming up. And I'm like, are you? Oh no! What?
No, I've never, been able to do that. My hubs is very It can be very spontaneous. I feel married life has killed that part of him a little bit. Mm-hmm. I feel a bit guilty, but that whatever shenanigans going past. But it is He can be spontaneous, mm-hmm. but we have a dog, and it's not easy. And, mm-hmm. now I think that there's a lot of financial stuff. It's really hard to kind of turn and go, well, I'm just going to skip work.
Right.
And my work didn't really allow for that level of spontaneity. They barely allowed me to plan 2 months in advance sometimes. But,
exactly.
But I've always wanted to be that level of spontaneous, but there's like a difference though, isn't there, between going, I'm going to do so and so, let me check times, and I'm going to do so and so, and just not consider anything until we actually get there.
Yeah, I mean, for example, whenever I went to London last year, it took me 6 months to point out what I was doing. Now I didn't know exactly, what train I was going to get from, London to Hampton Court.
Yeah.
But I had checked to see that the trains were running, the general schedule. I knew generally, they run every, 45 minutes. So, I had a general, okay. But I had checked them. Yeah. I didn't show up at the train station and was we're going with fate and hoping that we get a train for a multi-hour ride up to D.C. No. I booked my Eurostar tickets from London to Paris a couple of months in advance. I made sure I had a seat and that my luggage was going to be taken care of.
No.
This was just... I love her to death, but I was just this is just a level of abandon that I'm I don't know I can do
So
this.
Do you think she would have been spontaneous if you hadn't been in DC.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I literally only saw her for dinner. And that was the thing is like whenever she told me that she was coming, she's like, we'd only like to see you for dinner or anything. Don't think like you have to host us. And I was like, okay. Because one of us has to work.
But yeah, no, my family just not spontaneous people, you know, and we were, I think I've got what I was talking to this about is, I think it was me and the hubs were talking about food, you know, and having stuff in the fridge and all that. And like, we never had like food in the fridge in the sense of you can just go in and grab something. Mum had planned the meals out. So everything was planned out. There was no like, we're going to do, there might be a, let's go do this, you know, let's go treat ourselves. But
it was still planned.
It was still planned, you know. No, I've never. And then people when I went traveling, like when I was 18, like the people that were spontaneous were never really spontaneous. They just spontaneously picked the people to plans they mooch off, sort of thing. You know,
right. But there was still a plan involved.
There was still planning involved, but no, I just can't because I think that you've either got to have money in case of an emergency, or I don't really, I don't know. I've always kind of felt that people, even spontaneous people, rely on people like me in case of emergencies. I'm like, well, great, but I have people that rely. I don't know.
They want a stable genius to be like, and here's the backup plan. You know, if this falls through, we can do this instead.
But also, stuff is so fucking expensive now. You know, this is an ongoing discussion we have on the podcast. Is that. And DC especially now is like they're fighting the level of pricing, and there's been, you know, a lot of conversations with the head of the restaurants trying to work out how to stop, you know, cheeseburgers becoming $40 a pop, which, you know, sounds ridiculous, but it could get there.
Yeah.
And you know, like, just to kind of go, let's go grab a bite to eat. I can't fucking grab a bite to eat. I got to check the menu. Like I had someone contact me one time and go, can we get a bite to eat? I said, no. I said, even a spontaneous dinner. I said, I have to think about that now because it's like, it's just ridiculous. And
you have to have some little bit of planning. Like,
but just the idea of a 5-hour drive, which for an English person is a very long way. That's like our country. And just to kind of cross England.
Well, I mean, it's still a long drive for us here in the States sometimes. I'm like, you know, it's one of these that they have a local airport. And I'm like, if you were going to the airport in Atlanta, why didn't you just take the airplane, you know? Yeah, like you went to Atlanta with the intention of taking the train and then figured out it wasn't going to happen and you pivoted, but you could have just taken the plane from your home airport. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was just like, I cannot right now. Like,
levels upon levels upon levels.
And like I said, I love her to death, but I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. Like, I almost like was breaking out in hives, like at the dinner whenever I realized what had actually happened. Because I finally got it out of her and I'm like,
no.
Yeah. I was like, ma'am, oh, how are we related?
But no, interesting. If anyone listening, you know, has any opinions on it, like being spontaneous, you know, wanting to be it, or just what happens when spontaneous goes wrong, you know, let us know.
Yeah.
It is hard. I think, I generally think at the moment is that you can be slightly more spontaneous. It is a lot easier. We carry so much with us with our phones, you know, there was a period of time, but at the same time is, you know, even me living out here, it's made a lot easier by having base camp in England with my parents to like just maintain a couple of bits. But also, I don't have property back in England. I don't have anything. I have a couple of bits that I would have got rid of, you know, and stuff. But it is incredibly. You always need some level of backup for stuff.
Yeah. It was.
I mean, even us going away. So we're going away Saturday night for my marathon Sunday morning. And even then, we're looking at that and kind of going, "Oh shit, do we take the dog with us?" And it was like, and then Daniel has been very sweet enough to look after the dog for a night. And you know, if you meet the bear, he's just this like quiet little thing, so he's very easy to deal with. And like we just need to give the house a bit of a clean, but we don't mean to show off in front of Daniel. But you know, it's not that. But you know, the other dog was a little bit more. We had to get people over, and you know, and just so we had like remember Matinee Idol invited us down originally to him and Deb's, and then we were like, we don't know, just for one night.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, could you? Because our other dog, she was a little bit much, and his dog and her dog did not get on.
Right.
And we're like, we can't leave her. We're all going down as a group to your house.
Everyone that would be watching the dog will be there.
And it's hard work. And, if we don't really know one outside of the circle, it starts to add up. And we're like, we feel really bad. So that's our level of spontaneity. Now, whether or not Dwayne Beggs are ever going to leave this mortal coil is another story. But, there will be, I think that is the one thing we have said, is that we want a break because we need the more spontaneity, between that. I'm hoping with a slightly more independent attitude and to my next role, and being ready to kind of say, fuck it, I've done my job, I'm going, and just putting some money aside, we might be more spontaneous. But no, even then, it's going to be spontaneously deciding to plan something maybe within the next couple of days, but I'm not going to be jumping on your cars for 4 hours to wait and see what arrives at the other side.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, love her to death, but I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I would not be doing this. Props to her, but no.
Major props to her.
Yeah.
Well, what isn't spontaneous is that all things must come to an end, Daniel. So do you think we should move on to the end of the show?
I think we should.
I'm waiting for one time for you to go, no, I've still got more to say. But please say it.
I have more.
I don't really have a gags and goops. There wasn't really a lot of stories this week that took me, mainly because all the good ones were fake.
Right.
But this quote came up and it made me giggle. And apparently it was said by Winston Churchill, though it's attributed to him, which could mean bullshit, but I liked it anyway.
Right.
You can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else.
Well, if that's not appropriate, I don't know what is.
So what's your word of the week, Daniel?
My word of the week might be familiar to some of our listeners. It's pettifogger. Someone who quibbles over trivia and raises petty and annoying objections. I could have been a pettifogger this week.
You could have.
But I was not, according to Maura.
No. Do you have a petticoat lane?
I feel like I started off our news with a petticoat lane about April's Fools and all the good news articles being fake. I'm glad people can write convincing articles, I'll say that, but
or ChatGPT probably.
Yeah, but I'm going to say this. Have them down by April 3rd.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
Just take them down.
Just take them down.
Take them down after April 1st, really.
Yeah, burn them. Like, just scrub the internet of them. Just do that.
Good plan. I don't really have anything, so I'm just going to say, everyone, buy a clue, just don't buy eggs if you can afford them.
Yeah.
And with that, Daniel, do you think we covered everything?
My dear, we have barely set the agenda.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This has been a Bearded Bitch production recorded in a Diane Keating podcast studio in Haberdashery.
You've been listening to The Bitches with Beards. I've been Daniel.
And I'm Max. A big thanks to you all for tuning in and giving us a listen. Don't forget to rate, subscribe and review the following on Twitter, X and TikTok, where you can find us at Bitches with Beards.
Please remember that only a mother could love our views and opinions, and they reflect us and no one else.
We'll hear you next week unless we're cancelled. Cheers.